Psst, hey, come here. I gotta tell you something. Did you know that there are deep, ancient secrets hidden in the Bible? Well, at least they're kind of hidden to us, at least in the Western world. We don't talk about them much. But the Jewish people knew exactly what was hidden there. Hey everybody, welcome back to Outside In this week. This one's a cool one. We're still in the Gospel of Matthew. We're on the 6th Sunday of Ordinary Time. And Jesus is addressing particularly the Jewish religious leaders surrounding him that have been questioning him this entire time and trying to find some kind of fault that they can bring against him and show that he's blaspheming. That means he's like disgracing the Spirit of God. Okay, so check this out. This is from Matthew chapter 5. A reading from the Gospel according to Matthew. Glory to you, O Lord. Jesus said, "Do not think that I have come to abolish the law or the prophets. I have come not to abolish them, but to fulfill them. For truly I tell you, until heaven and earth pass away, not one letter, not one stroke of a letter will pass from the law until all is accomplished. Therefore, whoever breaks one of the least of these commandments and teaches others to do the same will be called least in the kingdom of heaven. But whoever does them and teaches them will be called great in the kingdom of heaven. For I tell you, unless your righteousness exceeds that of the scribes and the Pharisees, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven." The gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ. This one's super cool because it highlights at the heart of the Gospel of Matthew who Matthew's talking to and what he's trying to do with the teachings of Jesus. See, Matthew is the first of the Gospels. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Scholars don't believe that Matthew was the first one written, however, but they've put it at the beginning because what they're doing is they're using Matthew as a bridge between the Old Testament and the New Testament. Matthew wrote particularly to the Jewish people, highlighting, trying to convince them, showing them how Jesus was the Jewish Messiah that they've been waiting for. And in this particular passage, he's talking to what we would consider the priests, the bishops, the archbishops, like an equivalent that we would have maybe in our churches. These are the scribes and the Pharisees. These are the ones who knew the Old Testament scriptures and God's law and the teachings of the prophets from the Old Testament. They knew them the best. And so Matthew is really going hard trying to say, look, unless you're more righteous than you guys who know this all so well, unless someone is more righteous than you guys, they'll never get into the kingdom of heaven. Well, that must have caused those Jewish leaders to do a little double take and say, what do you mean? You see, because they relied, everything was based on the law and the prophets. And Jesus came, and what they were trying to do was prove that he was just trying to upend the system and get rid of all the old laws. And Jesus says to him right here, he's like, no. Don't miss this. I didn't come to abolish the law. I came to fulfill it. Matthew, throughout his gospel, demonstrates that Jesus is the new Moses. We see all kinds of these parallels that Matthew's highlighting. Jesus, as a baby, was hunted by Herod. Moses, as a baby, was hunted by Pharaoh. Jesus had to escape into Egypt to avoid being killed. Moses had to leave Egypt as Pharaoh hunted him. Jesus went up on the mountain and delivered 10 new commandments, the Beatitudes, the 10 Beatitudes in the Sermon on the Mount. Moses went up the mountain, got the 10 commandments that were the bare minimum, kind of the low bar of law for God's people. And so Matthew's really just drilling in on Jesus is fulfilling Moses. That was then, and now we're bringing this to a new level. Jesus wants to point the way to his Father, wants to show that the basis of the law is not behavior but love. Jesus is love in action, and he's showing the Jewish people how he is the fulfillment of the law that they've been keeping. And that this is the new law. Love one another as I have loved you. Love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. This week, this sort of a theme that's below the surface that we just kind of hear from Matthew and we hear the Beatitudes, and we don't really know sometimes what's behind it all. And so here's that hidden meaning that Matthew, the Jewish people, would have been painfully obvious. But to us, when we just kind of gloss over it, we hear a piece from Matthew here and there, we don't realize the next levels, the depth to which it goes. And I just wonder if you've tossed out some of the scriptures, some of the Bible, some of the things that Jesus taught, because you haven't looked deeper into them. Maybe there's something more to be seen here. Maybe there's more to be understood. Maybe there's more that you could bring into your life if you would just take a chance and go that one next step further and say, God, what am I missing here? What do you want to show me that maybe I haven't seen before that would help me get closer to you? Try that this week, outside in. Love you guys.